Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Welcome to Plank of the Week. Good evening, I'm Mike Graham, and this, of course, is the one place to be for judgment, because we're going to give you the judgment that you need for all the plankery that's been going on all of this week. We've got a fabulous panel. We've got Jeremy Kyle back from last week. We've got Candice Holdsworth. We've got Russell Quirk. We've got Peter Bleksley as well. It's going to be a fascinating show. I mean, I don't know where to start, really, but I suppose, Jeremy, you might have an idea of where to start, perhaps with the Prime Minister.
Sir Dreary, two-tier, free gear, no smear, yeah. Starmer, extraordinary. Like you, and I guess the rest of you guys, I wake up every day and I think, can it possibly, for a new government, get any worse?
Yeah.
I mean, this guy spent months and years talking about the Tories were scum and their noses were in the trough, and we're going to do government differently. We're going to do it for everybody.
Honesty.
Really, honesty and integrity.
Yeah.
Two great moments this week, apart from, by the way, another 16 grand's worth of clothes that I forgot about. Lady Victoria Sponge, we love that.
Yes, that's a good one.
She's had 5 grand. This week, Rosie Duffield, who I actually think should be absolutely celebrated. I will be slaughtered by the transgender community. This is a woman who stood up and said, you know, I defend women's rights to have their own spaces to change. That's their right, right?
Right, because they haven't got a penis.
Because they haven't got a penis. Rosie Duffield resigned. So you fight an election under a Labour banner, and 12 weeks later you come out and you say, I am so appalled by the leadership. The leadership that is greedy, doesn't care about the working man and woman. Arrogant, just terrible. I am walking out. Yeah. No response at all. New Prime Minister. Within 12 weeks, Rosie Duffield does one. I think that speaks volumes to what will happen to him.
How arrogant they are, because they more or less said, good riddance. You know, well, we didn't really like you much anyway.
No.
But let's have a look at what she had to say.
Why is anybody earning the amount of money that Keir Starmer earned as the leader of the opposition, taking £32,000 worth of clothes from somebody?
It's a very good question.
How can she not be right?
Yes.
About what
I think she's an admirable politician.
Yeah. And isn't it about time that we had politicians that actually stood by, you know, those things we used to call principles?
Yeah,
absolutely.
But let's ask that question. You know, what on earth is he doing with all the money? Because that's not the only money.
Why do you need 32 grand's worth of clothes?
Yeah.
I know what he's doing with the money.
Do you?
Yeah, no comment.
But if you resign from a party, I think there should be a by-election.
I agree with that.
Now, wouldn't that be fun, 12 weeks after the general election, if there was a by-election in her constituency?
And I suspect, Pete, she'd win as an independent, because she is, as Russ says, an honest-to-God politician who is not scared, by the way, because she signed her own political death warrant in the Labour government and party. She's saying these are the values. The other thing that's wound her up and has wound everybody up, it's a great sort of side story to this obsession that he's got to, like, take away this winter fuel cut from pensions.
Yeah.
I mean, I said 2 weeks ago, this, for me, will be their poll tax moment. I don't believe that people will forget about it because he's got a big majority. I think they're in trouble. There's a wonderful couple from Scotland, isn't there? What are their names again?
Their names are Peter and Florence Fanning.
Nice. They're fanning the flames. They've decided... This
fanning
is brilliant.
the flames, I like it.
Did you know what I did there? They are fanning the flames. They decided to sue the British government and the Prime Minister for the damage and the heartache that he will cause to pensions. Let's not forget, by the way, Labour's own advisers have said, hold on a second, 4,000 pensioners could die this winter. But I give my union mates 11 billion quid a pay rise. It's absolutely bloody awful.
It is extraordinary.
But they're at opposite ends of the spectrum, I think, Keir Starmer and Rosie Duffield. Very, very different politicians. She's the absolute epitome of integrity. He is a shapeshifter. And I think that he's starting to come apart because people can see that, whereas she will always command respect. It doesn't matter from which end of the political spectrum, because people can see she's sincere and she's authentic and she's genuine.
They used to call him Captain Hindsight and Keir Flip-Flop Starmer because he kept changing his mind. He didn't change his mind, he just told lies. And we're now working out, actually, these
He's a man of
no
principles whatsoever. And the other thing, just to add into the mix, of course, is she was asked if she thinks that Keir Starmer has a problem with women. And she said yes, categorically.
Well, because he doesn't know whether a woman has a penis or not.
That is a problem.
It's always a test, right?
Well, let's see what the Fannings have got to say.
The Fannings.
The Fannings of North Lanarkshire.
They intend to sue both the London and Scottish governments, since both are guilty through action and inaction of damaging the welfare of pensioners. It's affected us over the past couple of years by, you know, it's been eating into my savings to pay for things, and as I said, it's been the impact of the whole thing. It's the winter fuel stuff, it's the cost of living, it's the cost of food, it's the cost of petrol, it's all amalgamated.
This really winds me up. We had a woman on this week who was crying her eyes out, disabled, had 3 heart attacks, right? They don't seem to understand, these politicians, this government. These people have paid in done nothing wrong, never broken the law, given something to the country, and they sit and they look at migrants being put in hotels, prisoners being let out to re-offend, they're put in hotels, and people like those two, and millions of pensioners are going to be screwed. I believe this Labour government is one term at its very most. I also believe, I said earlier, he will be gone within a year, Keir
There's
Starmer.
worse news. There's worse news coming down the line for dear old Peter there, because he just admitted to the nation he's got savings.
Yeah.
And I bet Reeves comes after those.
Not for much longer. And also, Keir Starmer is a man who had to have a special law made just for him in Parliament.
His £1 million gold-plated pension.
To get his gold-plated pension up to a certain level.
Yep.
So, I mean, not only is he a hypocrite, he's greedy. He thinks he's better than everybody else.
It's interesting about incompetence as well. Boris Johnson got slaughtered for saying that he didn't do anything about Savile when he was Director of Public Prosecutions. You could add Hugh Edwards to that. This man now runs our country. He's got a foreign secretary who says green issues are more important than what's going on in the world. I genuinely am proud to be British, but in the last 12 weeks, I'm beginning to get bloody embarrassed.
The issue, though, I think, is not just the fact that he's taking the donations and, he's living the high life whilst there's a cost of living crisis and so on. It's everything that Keir Starmer said in the run-up to the election. I'm going to govern differently. I'm going to drain the swamp.
BS.
I'm going to ensure that we govern country first and as a government of service. He's not only not done that, but he knew as he was saying that he was taking donations.
He'd already taken all the free
previously.
Stuff.
And when you've slagged others off and then the light is shone on you, then it's totally different, isn't it? So Keir Starmer by a mile.
I mean, listen, that may be the winner already. Candice, you've got migrants for us.
Yeah, so this is a crazy story. This week, it was revealed that about 1,400 migrants have been identified trying to be classed as children. So this is an issue that has been going on for years and years and years, that people have spoken about, people pretending to be children so that they can
It shouldn't be that difficult to tell whether they're children or not,
No, it shouldn't. But one of the problems is anyone who's tried to say, let's do checks, let's do dental checks, let's find out, they're just shut down as racist.
Must be racist.
Even though the implications for it are huge. If you come in as a child, that means you'll be put in a foster home with children. It means you'll be put in school with children.
Do you know there was a 41-year-old from somewhere like Eritrea who was in a school, right? And he only got kind of rumbled because he kept sexually assaulting the girls.
So let me
in
get this
class.
right. If you work at Border Force and you see a dude who's 40 pretending to be an 11-year-old kid, you're not allowed to respond because this country's on its arse.
Mate, I've seen it happen, right? When I've been umpiring children's cricket matches for our local club, right? So I'm umpiring the under-11s, right? Our team against a local team. And, of course, the kids come up to you, you give them the ball and you say, what action you're going to bowl? Oh, right arm over, umpire. Say, lovely. And then the next thing you know, another bowler comes on. Brilliant. Right? You give him the ball and you look up, right? There's this geezer with a beard playing for the under-11s.
And it's a woman. That's even more ironic, isn't it? To be honest.
Yeah, and they say, oh, yeah, he's a new, he's a migrant, this, that and the other. We're integrating him, this, that and the other. Oh, right, mate, what are you bowling? Right arm over. Well, he doesn't do it in that accent, obviously. And you just go, yeah, I'm not quite sure you're an under-11, mate.
So we got to a point in this country where we can't talk about stuff like that or do anything about it because with that, it's just...
This is the thing. So what's happening to these 400 or so kids?
Yeah, so they were caught, so they're not going to get immigration status based on...
But I bet they won't be deported, though, will they?
Well, this is also another issue because one other thing that's happened this week is that they've discovered that Albanian migrants who've come over illegally have basically taken over the cannabis trade in Britain. They've muscled out the Vietnamese. I know. But see, this is the thing. Like, everything that everyone talks about, which is sort of like folk knowledge...
Well,
then becomes news later on.
Yeah. Well, everything that we talk about on Talk has become true. I mean, I can't remember the last time that something happened and we went, well, we told you that last year.
But this is, bear in mind, this is just the 1,470 that we know about. What about all the others that are still in the system as 11-year-olds that are actually 19?
You have to ask yourself again about the system because patently people will say, oh, we need to have a deterrent. The deterrent for me would be to make this country not so bleeding soft, whereby you can come here and pretend to be a child and know that you won't be deported, that actually you don't come to this country and get what the pensioners, the Fannings don't get. You get it.
If your whole application is based on a lie, then ta-da, mate, string your hook.
But you know what's interesting? Because we did some research into this a couple of years ago, and that, because Dover obviously is the point of entry for most of these people that come in, and social services in Dover were complaining that they were literally overwhelmed with all the cases they had to deal with, because they count you as a child up to the age of 23. So if you come in aged 22, Dover will say you qualify to be classified as a child, and therefore you then enter their system. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, they're not called border farce rather than border force for nothing.
No, I know. And I mean, as far as the Albanians go, I mean, you know, we've got some agreement now with Albania where we get to deport Albanians back to Albania, but it doesn't really matter because that's why they come in illegally, because they're not supposed to be here.
And isn't there a really sad irony to the fact that 1,400 men have come to this country illegally and pretended to be children, and they've managed to then stay here? And all the bedwetters say to me on a daily basis, oh, you don't understand what it's like to... They're in that voice again.
Yeah.
To be born into a war-torn country. I keep saying it every week. I make no apologies. If I was... if I was in a war-torn country, Candice, and I had my wife and I've got so many bleeding kids anyway, I wouldn't leave them there and bugger off to it. And strangely, I would sort of think it was my duty to protect my wife and kids first, and the safe place I got, first place I got to was safe. I'll go, oh, I wouldn't be going on my own. They're not coming from persecution. They're taking the PISS out of a system that is so soft that the rest of this country is getting, quite rightly, hacked off about
Yes,
it.
because it's not just about them. It's also about the wider system and how it impacts everybody. I mean, the Parsons Green bomber, he came in, pretended to be a child, was in a foster home. Yeah. That caused those foster parents so much stress.
The other one, the famous case, was the guy who stabbed somebody to death in Bournemouth.
That's a famous
who
one.
Who also came in as a child, even though he'd been arrested and charged with murder in Serbia on his way here.
And he was expelled from a school for carrying a knife.
Yeah.
And while we're on this very subject about crime committed by migrants, I'm sure you're all aware of how the Home Office will not release the statistics by a country of origin of who's committing the crime in this country.
Why? Yeah.
Where they have done it, in the United States and Denmark, they found that certain people, certain demographics from countries which we can all take a well-informed guess at, the rate of crime that they commit is 8 times that of what an ordinary Dane might
And, of course, their reasoning is that, we don't want to cause any trouble. You know, that's called concealing the truth.
Yeah,
but that's the very definition of woke, is that you let feelings get in the way of facts. And the other stat for you, actually, is... In data from Paris, France, apparently 70% of those that have actually been caught for rape were not born in France.
Yeah.
70% are from overseas that have been caught and prosecuted for rape.
Amazing. Russell, over to you. You're going to take the showbiz route.
Well, I am, and this might be the winner. I mean, certainly be a close second, I think. So this is former national treasure and runner botherer Phillip Schofield. Phillip Schofield, who has decided that he doesn't want to be on telly anymore. So he's told us he doesn't want to be on telly anymore by going on telly.
Before you go on, let's have a look at what he's actually done. This is this week. Apologies to Jeremy Kyle.
I know that coming out for so many people is liberating, and it's freedom on a plate. But for me, doing it later in life, at the moment, it's just given me more anguish.
Don't care.
So
honestly, I don't care.
He's there to lament what's happened.
Yes.
He's playing the victim like you've never seen anyone play the victim before. I mean, so much so that apparently his daughter now, who's a publicist, he sent her into ITV to ask them to apologise to him. Apparently.
I don't know why you're telling me I was there.
Can I just read you some of the reviews from the media? Because these are absolutely hilarious. The Guardian said he is an incredibly bitter man. The Tab says he's a narcissistic diva. And GQ have said, with Schofield's Castaway TV stunt, British TV slides even further into the gutter.
Right.
So it's not been received very well.
Well, apparently the ratings haven't been great either.
They plummeted, Jeremy was saying.
Yeah, they've sort of lost consistently after one. I mean, funnily enough, I meant to watch it last night because I thought in preparation for today, somebody's bound to nominate Phillip Schofield. And I completely forgot.
Cut your toenails.
Yeah, I just completely forgot because that's how ridiculously poor the draw of Phillip Schofield is. And let's face it, you know, people say, but he was a really good presenter. Yeah, he was a really good presenter. So he doesn't want to present anymore, so go and do something else.
But that doesn't
I don't want to see him on a desert island.
That doesn't mean that he sits there in a higher authority and is not judged by the same moral code that the rest of us are. I mean, let's be clear what happened. You know, he had a relationship with a young man that he may or may not have met when he was vastly underage, although apparently nothing happened. Yeah. He then lied about that to ITV and the public, being that former national treasure.
Yeah. Although, let's face it, ITV weren't exactly unknowing, were they, about some of the stuff, considering that he took him on awards nights with him, took him on boats, took him in taxis, limos. They didn't all go, who's this bloke? I mean, they all knew who he was.
When they point out that he was a really good TV presenter, may I point out that Peter Sutcliffe, the Yorkshire Ripper, was a very good lorry driver.
Well, all is forgiven.
I mean, clearly that will probably be seen as an unfair comparison. But, you know...
Yeah. But the other thing that you said, Schofield, of course, I mean, in this melee of nonsense, this Castaway Island, which, by the way, I hope it was a one-way ticket. I hope he's there forever, is he? I hope he's coming back.
I'd like to see him buried up to his head. You know when they bury people up to his neck in the sand?
Yeah, but the other thing, apparently, you said is that, effectively, because his relationship was a gay relationship, he's been treated differently. And if he'd been a heterosexual, it would have been pats on the back.
No.
It would have been great.
No.
It wouldn't.
I'll tell you, honest to God.
Go on. You've got to give us something.
First of all, if you 3 weeks after it happened, right, he's on television saying, "What do you want me to do?" Right? There is a sort of unwritten rule in life, isn't there, that if you've done wrong, you keep your head down, right? But more than that, you narcissist. The heterosexual thing. There are plenty of heterosexual television presenters, I'm sure, right, who might have done that in the past, and probably you could argue that if it's a heterosexual situation, they'd never work again because of the things they've been accused of. He came out as gay, used ITV when it suited him to do that, and it blew back up in his face. But I'm with you. I don't want to be on television. Why the are you? Sorry, why are you doing it then? And also, I just genuinely cannot believe how delusional it is.
Yeah.
I'm nearly doing it again.
I know.
Read the room, mate. At the end of the day, it's done. I'd done another programme. I went through something similar. I came here with people who I'd known, and it's my home, right? But I didn't say Jack for 5 years. I don't understand what this man thinks the hell's going to happen.
But you've also never gone, poor me.
No.
Woe is me.
No.
Poor, pity me. I've just suffered more anguish, and that's all it is.
Let us
He
not
blames
forget.
his brother, right? And says his brother is the real reason he got fired.
No.
Incorrect. Not correct.
Incorrect, Philip. Incorrect.
Yeah.
There's so much to it, but I know that the powers that be in many television...
Let's not forget, though, as well, that the reason he's been castigated in the eye of the public is because of this wholesome image that he strove really, really hard.
This is a very interesting point.
To kind of advance, right?
Who's dead, which you know about. My old man was very, very straight, old-fashioned, said it how it was. I remember 3 days after it happened, because he was really hacked off what happened to me, and he was very... But he said to me something that has resonated forever about the Phillip Schofield thing. He said to me one simple line, he went, "So he lied to his wife for 27 years then."
Yeah.
Now, if you are presenting that image of being, as you said, this wholesome family man, it's all fun, and then it turns... It's not that you're gay, Philip. No. It's that you lied to the people that trusted you, and then your wife... you still got your ring on. I don't understand that.
And by the way, his wife has appeared on the first two episodes.
She's on the show, isn't she?
I don't
Because they're still
that.
friends.
See the barbecue thing?
Did she get paid?
Did you see the Mickey out of Holly Willoughby? Did you see that?
No.
So Holly, when she came back after Philip had gone, said, "It's been a very weird time not to have... I hope you're okay."
Yeah.
And at the barbecue, they're going... When he passed the meat and you okay? We all okay? So I think that Phillip Schofield should read the frigging room.
Well, he clearly hasn't learned anything, has he? Because he's gone there, he's done this thing. He says, "I'll never work for ITV again," as if it's his choice, which it isn't, right? And then he goes, "I was fired for the wrong reason. I'm full of anguish." He then tries to have a go at Holly Willoughby. He tries to have a go at the people that he didn't like, who he feels stitched him up. Move on, get over it. I've said this before. He should have gone, and if he wanted to do something like that, just said, "I'm not even going to talk about what happened. I'm just going to be here on a desert island, and now you can watch me catching some fish and cooking it."
I would say, if I was speaking to Phillip Schofield, I'd say, you know what, life ain't great. Yeah, there are moments when things happen that aren't great, okay? You've got to take it on the chin. I genuinely don't understand whoever's advised him. The British public, we get back to why this show works so well for Mikey, right? The British public are looking at Starmer and going, "We've never broken the law, we've never had any money, we've never had Jack, and these migrants are coming, these criminals." They're going to look at Schofield and go, "Oh, do one, mate, for God's sake. You've got millions in the bank, so you miss the oxygen of daytime television or whatever. You're on an island, just live with your family. We can't even afford to feed our kids." That's the reality of what's going on here.
Right.
Yeah.
Me.
Candice?
Yeah, I mean, people right now, I think, just really value authenticity. And, the sort of fake persona, people just aren't interested anymore. They don't want that. They want people who are real.
Yeah, and as that critique of the show said, he's just a narcissist. Yeah. And he doesn't get it.
Yeah.
The end.
Not one favourable review.
No, of course not. Peter, over to you. PC Julie Smith.
Oh, you had an accident.
Have you had an accident? You had some curry last night. What's going on?
I'm very pleased to say that I'm fine. My bowel movements are all perfectly well, thank you very much. But
that's a lot of toilet roll, Pete.
PC Julie Smith may not be able to say the same.
Right.
She worked for Leicestershire Police. She's subsequently resigned from the police service after it was alleged that she'd been regularly removing toilet rolls from the police building in which she worked. Now,
why?
Well, that's a very good question.
Because they're expensive.
There is a misconduct hearing, and we're waiting for the outcome of that at any moment.
I'm just surprised the police actually caught her, because they're so
Hold on,
bad at
there's
the
a
moment.
misconduct hearing.
Doing anything.
They launched an undercover operation to catch her, which I'm all in favour of. What they did was they took toilet rolls and they covered it in an invisible dye.
Are you winding me up?
No, this is a true story.
You are joking.
Forget the rapist. We're going to catch the toilet
It's a
licker.
tissue of lies.
It's a true story. Hey, boom, boom. And then, when they searched her car, dye on her hands, dye on the toilet roll in the boot of her car. So the allegation is she's a serial toilet roll thief.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think it runs far deeper than that because, of course, what was she stealing it for? Was she impoverished? Quite possibly. But I need to say something here because I don't want to sound like a rank hypocrite. Me and fellow mates back in the 70s when we were kids, on the way to football, used to go into various toilets and steal toilet rolls. Because, of course,
Just used to throw them.
When the mighty Queen's Park Rangers would score a goal, we'd go, way!
So you probably didn't need 3 then, did you?
And celebrate.
Oh, yeah. So the police in this country...
Now, I mean, I was going to say, I'm old enough to remember when people used to throw toilet rolls at football. Can you imagine now with VAR? You'd be throwing the toilet roll, you'd have to take it all back again.
No.
It's been disallowed.
It might touch somebody and you'd be done for health and safety. So in this country, the police who allow Wayne Cousins and people like that to be in their organisation, Grassy, all those people, and don't mark their own homework very well, an undercover operation to find out the bognicker. That's brilliant, mate, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, also, it must have
That's
been
the winner.
It must have been some kind of sharp-eyed character that noticed that the toilet rolls were going missing. I mean,
Yeah, but you imagine, right? You've been doing a long shift. You caught a load of criminals.
Long what?
Shift.
Oh, sorry.
We've done Schofield, right? You've done a long shift. You run into the toilet, you're desperate to do something, and then there's no paper there.
I think...
was she that stupid? Did she rinse the whole place, did she?
Wow.
She didn't leave one behind.
Well, no, she didn't rinse. That's why she had to use the toilet paper. I would suspect...
Unbelievable.
That was quite good as well. I would suspect that I could defend her brilliantly if I was a lawyer. You just say got irritant bowel and spent so much time out and about, doing stakeouts and everything you should do when you're a copper. What was that for? That's why she needed all the toilet rolls. I could defend myself easily.
So has she been placed on indefinite leave of...
She's already resigned.
OK.
But as we speak, her misconduct hearing is taking place.
What's happening?
Hence, I had to use the word allegedly.
Yes.
But anyway, she's out of policing
if
now.
she's resigned, what's the misconduct hearing going to do? Make her pay them back or something?
Well, there could be a finding, for example, which would lead to her being barred from ever coming back into policing. But,
Well, presumably it's a criminal charge as well, possibly, isn't it?
well, they haven't charged her criminally yet, so I don't know.
Stand before me accused of stealing 11 toilet rolls. How do you plead?
What are you
I need
in
the
for?
toilet.
Yeah.
Even more strangely, as you might expect from this show, we've got a clip of a man stealing toilet paper.
Is it Pete and
New video tonight of a guy walking up to a house in Fort Myers and taking toilet paper off the porch. But toilet paper is not the only thing he got away with.
Rosalind Bass checked her Ring camera video and sees this man on her porch. He came back a second time after noticing the camera and put a shirt over his head. Then Rosalind yells at him through the camera.
Get up before I call the police.
He got away with toilet paper, paper towels, and a speaker box. Rosalind said she's never experienced this kind of crime near her Edison Avenue home before.
Now, coming up, what have we got next? You've got me, I think, next, or we're going to do the BBC, one of my favourite subjects. And also, Ed Miliband, he's on the show. He makes a return to Plank of the Week as well. It's all coming up after this. Welcome back to Plank of the Week, and I'm going to give you my first nomination, guys, which is a familiar subject, a familiar nominee. It is, of course, the BBC. I mean, I could nominate the BBC for being hopelessly anti-Semitic. I could nominate them for still not really understanding what about Hugh Edwards they should have known, and still not getting back the 200,000 quid that he supposedly is going to give them. And they haven't really given him a deadline for that. But no, it's not for that. It's for Question Time, which I don't know whether you watch anymore. I mean, I've sort of given up watching it, but if I happen to be around on a Thursday night, I'll give it a quick look. But it's so biased now that they say every time at the start of the show, this is representative of the voting public. And of course, it never is.
Where, in
right?
Islington?
Well, they say wherever it is they're doing it from, and I can't remember where this one was from, but they say they basically, you know, they pick the audience, they handpick the audience. It's always full of Labour activists, strangely enough.
Always.
But they actually got into a fight and a row with Zia Youssef, who's the new chairman of Reform. Let's have a look at this particular clip.
Clearly another representative BBC Question Time audience, given Reform won.
OK, I'm just going to stop you there. I'm just going to stop you there, Zia. We have a representative proportion of people in here who voted Reform. And now, I don't know if any of you want to put your hands up.
How many people voted
let's hear from
for
one of
Reform?
them. We're going to get an answer to your question, but let's hear from...
3.
So 3 people in the Question Time audience, despite the fact that they had
got
4 million
votes.
right? So they should have quite more substantially Reform members than that. But the point is, at the end of the day, everybody knows. I mean, whenever anyone from Reform goes on what you would call a BBC mainstream programme, they get pilloried, they get harassed, they get shouted down, they get spoken over, you know. Meanwhile, Michelle Hussein, I think it is, who represents the Today programme, she's been hauled over the coals for actually taking some propaganda from some Iranian talking about, you know, the problems in the Middle East without questioning anything at all.
5-minute rant uninterrupted.
Yeah. Nigel Farage was on, you know, a couple of days ago with one of the BBC interviewers, and they were just not really allowing him to say what he wanted to say, basically trying to make out that he was a troublemaker.
Absolute fear, isn't it?
Yeah, they absolutely can't play the game straight at all. And I think the trouble is they don't even know they're doing it.
I saw this Iranian professor. Okay.
Oh, this was last night.
Who was based in Lebanon.
Yeah. This is the guy last night who said Hezbollah are played by the rules.
Yeah. It was a complete and utter rant in support of murderous terrorist organisations.
Yes, right. Incredible.
The BBC is an extraordinarily biased, useless organisation.
Yeah.
I wouldn't...
It gets worse. It's like the Labour Party, isn't it? It gets worse every day.
It's almost that self-belief, that misplaced self-belief, the Labour Party. If I said to somebody in Labour the other day, do you not understand the optics of what you're doing? Do you think you're better than the Tories? You called them scum quite rightly. You said that they had their noses in the trouble. You lot are doing worse. The BBC don't seem to give a toss, but what the BBC doesn't understand is that we're the reason that they exist. We pay that bloody ridiculous fee. And people, again, like with Labour, will go, hold on a minute, this is ludicrous.
Yeah, and there's certain issues where, you know, impartiality doesn't mean not taking a position.
Right.
You also need to have moral clarity. I mean, they
have both sides, don't you?
Well, you had the documentary they just made about the Nova massacre, and I think the filmmaker was told not to refer to Hamas as terrorists. Right. But you watch that documentary and all it was slaughter and murder.
Yeah.
I mean, what else would you call it?
They still don't call Hezbollah terrorists. They call them a prescribed terrorist organisation.
They're a proxy organisation of the mad mullahs of Iran who give them money to murder people. That's a blatant terrorist organisation. What is wrong with these people?
By any description.
But let's have a look at Julie Hartley-Brewer.
Must we?
Having a go.
It's now a source of national shame because the BBC broadcasts not just to us, it broadcasts around the world. It's seen internationally as a politically neutral source of facts. So this has got to stop. When you don't challenge the terrorists, when you don't challenge their defenders, you are not doing your job. You're not openly taking the side of the terrorists, of the medieval mullahs in Iran against our democratic ally in Israel. You're taking sides against the truth. Stop it.
You better stop it if Julie Hartley-Brewer tells you to stop it, but I don't know whether they ever will. Let's have a look at a bit of a parody of Question Time, which actually isn't that far from the truth. This is Harry Enfield.
Gentleman over there in the funny beige jumper.
Wouldn't it be better if the government just admitted they got it wrong? If the BBC spent more or less money on better programmes, then it wouldn't be such an insult to the licence fee payer.
Next week, our panel includes the Chancellor of the Exchequer, the Chairman of BP, and Dappy from N-Dubs.
No one would notice.
You wouldn't know that wasn't real, you know, because they've had all those ridiculous sort of, you know, supposedly trendy guests, haven't they? I think they had Russell Brand once,
Freddie
who was
Flintoff.
completely useless.
Yes.
Freddie Flintoff they had. I remember when they had put on the...
Piers Morgan.
Piers Morgan, every now and again. The leader of the BNP, Nick Griffin, he went on, and actually he made a complete fool of himself. But whenever Nigel Farage is on, or whenever anybody from any sort of right wing of the Tory party is on, they just get completely pilloried and completely,
but in a way,
down.
Spoken to Nigel about this, in a way that's great. Yeah. Because in a way, these sort of self-satisfied bedwetters, as I call them, don't understand that real people who listened and watched this station repeatedly because they get common sense and they get a chance to have an opinion, they're not going to be ostracised. Right. These people, I'm not going to say they're going to rise up, but everything we talk about on this show, your average Great Britain, who's worked hard all their lives, it's just going, this is, I'm allowed to say it, but why would you pay your bleeding licence fee?
Well, fewer and fewer people are, actually.
But why would you?
But I'm afraid I'm not sure they will rise up. I think what you end up with is apathy, which is why only 20%
I don't agree
of people
with you
voted for this government.
Don't agree with you
And
at
the
all.
fact that people just switch off question time, it's probably got an audience of, what, 2 or 3 million?
Seminal moment in the next 5 years if reform continues to grow seriously and massively.
I hope there is legitimate protest, I really do. What I'm saying is I think a lot of people have this tendency instead to switch off and they just think, I can't be doing with it.
Yeah. I think Fiona Bruce, while we're at it, is appalling at that job.
She's dreadful.
She's incapable
of
marshalling that show.
Not very good at that either.
No.
I'd like to see him do it.
This is an antique.
I'd like to see
I
Mike
think
Graham
he'd be
do it.
great
He
on
should do
Question
it.
Time.
I would, yeah. But they've never asked me.
There's about as much chance...
No, I mean hosting it. Not just
I think I know a little bit about television. Can I just say, I think there is as much chance of the 5 or any of us lot working for the BBC as there is of Schofield presenting this morning tomorrow.
Yeah.
But it's sad because you think about Christopher Hitchens' like legendary appearance on Question Time, and I think that for many people my age sort of defined our attitude to free speech. I mean, he said, like, Salman Rushdie, we need to stand up for him, but he had to go against the audience. You had to be someone so tough. I mean, he almost like cheered being booed. Right. And so many people aren't like that, though. They won't be able to do that.
Yeah, they're absolutely right. Now,
Taken too soon, unfortunately.
I'm afraid so. Now, we're running a bit over at the moment. So, Jeremy,
quick.
over to you. Just Stop Oil. Back in the news.
I mean, the day, we'll make this very quick, they're just pillocks, aren't they? I don't understand the whole Just Stop Oil thing, and I've said repeatedly on these sort of shows that I still don't actually know what they stand for. They've never actually sat down and said, I had a terrible experience at Earl's Court when I got off the tube about 6 months ago, and I walked down the road and they were lying there, and they said, will you join us? Don't be ridiculous. I wanted to kick one as I walked past.
Absolutely.
But this week, of course, as quite rightly, some of them were jailed for throwing. Was it soup?
Vandalising some other
the Van Gogh. They went and did it again. These people, that's not even...
What's the point?
Precisely, mate. I would just lock them all up, Pete.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think...
Well, they've started locking them up, which is a great thing.
They are.
Some of them quite like it. Some of them don't like it. But let's
do you remember that woman? Do you remember that woman whose mother said, and she's not... Oh, there's a picture.
Oh, here we go.
She's going to miss her brother's wedding.
Her brother's wedding. Oh, yeah, I know. Isn't it awful?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For demanding an end to new oil and... Oh, shut up and have a wash.
I mean, and the bizarre thing is, this government has announced no more oil or gas licences in the North Sea. So their original claim has been met, but still they do it. They started on the motorist. Then they went for sport, arts, culture, and recently tried to stop people going on holiday. They are undoubtedly the enemy of the people.
They are. There's no question about it.
Yeah, look at that. Honestly, look. And I'm not wrong, are they? They're all middle class.
So they got called out. They've got sentenced to 2 years.
They've all got ridiculous names like Indigo. And,
treble-barrelled name.
And they're never there in the holiday period because their mummy and daddy's in Mallorca. I mean, honestly, it's that ridiculous.
Well, Christmas, because they're all in Aspen and
Barbados. Just Stop Barbados.
Absolutely unbelievable. Right, Candice, not that dissimilar to Just Stop Oil, Ed Miliband, or Miliband, if you prefer.
Yes, so Ed Miliband, who has this ideological crusade against fossil fuels. So this week, EDF, one of the executives, have said his mad rush towards decarbonisation, and he wants to do it by 2030, is going to destabilise the energy grid in this country. Yeah. I mean, this is someone who knows what they're talking about.
There's going to be blackouts, in other words.
Yes. The thing is what he's trying to rush this through in basically about 6 years.
Yeah.
no one thinks it can be done.
No,
I mean,
it can't be done.
No, other countries like Canada and South Africa, for instance, they've said there's no way we're going to meet those targets. I mean, South Africa went through a massive energy crisis, so they're burning more coal.
Right.
I mean, the problem is when you get people like this, like those people, you know, from Just Stop Oil, they cannot be pragmatic.
No.
They think like fanatics.
Yeah.
And modern economies depend on reliable sources of energy.
If you talk, help me out, because I'm not very good at this green thing. I've admitted to you. So if you've got oil and gas in abundance, right, which will save your country money, why are we going with this rubbish and then it doesn't work and we then import that stuff from other countries for more money? I mean, I'm not a financier, but that's crap.
Just like the fracking argument, where we've decided that we don't want to frack, but we do buy already fracked gas from the United States. Of
course we should
Which
frack.
not only is
Exactly. Of
fracked
course we
gas,
should frack.
but then you also have the transportation costs and the carbon footprint of that on top of that.
Well, only this week they stopped, I think, at the last remaining coal mine and the last remaining power station, which was actually, you know,
Miliband was applauding it.
powered by coal. Miliband said it was a great day to celebrate everything that the coal business had done for the country.
What about?
But now it's time to close.
Is
the
he
chapter.
admitting that I thought it was really interesting last week when they announced that GB Energy's headquarters would be in Aberdeen. What they didn't tell everybody was that there's going to be 100,000 jobs going because of his mad wind farms rubbish, and that was probably a tipping of the hat to that.
But also GB Energy is another absolute and utter shibboleth of a
what
thing.
a word!
It is.
But GB Energy is not even an energy company. It's a hedge fund.
It's not an energy company. It doesn't own any energy. It doesn't. It won't sell. It won't buy energy. It won't sell energy. All it will be is a quango.
It's going
full of people.
They love bloody
quango.
It's going to invest in energy elsewhere.
Right.
What you're going to end up with is a load of foreign investors, just like we've got in water and gas.
I thought they didn't agree with that.
It's ludicrous. And isn't it ironic that in the 70s and 80s, when Margaret Thatcher closed down the coal industry because she saw that it was uneconomic, the left rioted on the streets? You'll remember that. And
What are you trying to say, that he's old?
Now, no, because it was a pretty famous kind of police dynamic, I think, wasn't it? In terms of
remember the flying pickets?
Flying pickets. But now the left closed down coal. Now the left closed down coal, and the left applaud themselves for it. Which is it?
Although the trade unionists absolutely hate it.
Yes, they
and
do.
it just frustrates you so much because it's like, if we had fracking, imagine what an industry we could have.
It's the same as the house thing.
Well, Miliband also wants to push this idea of heat pumps. I know somebody's got a heat pump and it doesn't work. It does not heat the house, right? And so he's going to take away people's boilers. Millions and millions of people who've got a perfectly good gas boiler.
Can he take my boiler away?
He can empower an agency to do so, right? And that's what he's going to do. That's what he wants to do. They haven't got the legislation in place yet, but they will, because they want to fine energy companies for not replacing your boiler.
Oh, we got to get rid of this.
Because the majority of Parliament will allow them to do whatever they want.
Yeah. But if you ask any of them, and I've tried this, whenever you get any politician on or any one of these green maniacs and you say, what actually happens when we hit net zero? You know, does the world become a great place? The butterflies suddenly appear? You know, does the sunshine stronger?
Butterfly!
You know, is everybody happier? No. Nobody knows, because actually it won't make any bloody difference. There's been fires all week, apparently, in the Arctic. I didn't know you could have fires in the Arctic, but the Arctic's on fire. Yeah, apparently it's loads of brush.
So that's it. Get rid of the boilers.
They've created more CO2 in the last 5 days than I think the whole of Europe driving around in diesel cars.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a hiding to nothing.
He's a dangerous human being.
The most dangerous.
I think he's the worst type of ideology.
But also, how can you trust a man that doesn't know how to eat a bacon sandwich? I mean, there it is.
I mean, honestly,
somehow we are in tune, Chuck, today.
If that was my child, I wouldn't let him out in public.
No. And I mean, this is what happens when you have a vanity photographer, which Angela Rayner's got. I'd like to see her trying to chew on a bacon sandwich, wouldn't you?
I'm not answering that
question. Thank you very much indeed. Let's move on to Ed Miliband.
You didn't need to say that. We left it there.
Yeah, we left it.
We left it. You're just too far, Quirk.
Ed Miliband. Here he is at Labour Party conference. Have a look at this.
So wouldn't it be great?
Anyway, we've got through another section. Coming up next, what have we got? We've got a great section next, which might involve chicken. Chris Russell Quirk has got a chicken to talk about. And also some more police action from Mr. Bleksley. It's all coming up next. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. We are nearly through with the show, and then I'll have to decide who's going to be the winner. But this is a very unusual one. Might I say it's a bit quirky, Russell?
I hope so. I hope so. So yeah, my second nomination is DEFRA, for the Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs.
Yes.
As if the government...
Is it food?
Well... Kind of. Yeah, kind of.
I suppose it is. I thought it was fisheries and stuff like that.
Food and rural. I bet they keep changing.
Yeah, they keep changing.
For £150,000 worth of new logo a time, they keep changing it. So as if the government didn't have anything to worry about at the moment. Because there's nothing really going on, is there? Economically, prisons, immigration, nothing like that. So what they've decided to focus on is the mandate, which literally this week has now become law. I kid you not. All chickens in Britain must be registered with DEFRA. Even if you have one chicken in your garden, I kid you not, one chicken in your garden, laying a couple of eggs a week or whatever. What about
foxes?
Has to be registered. So, I had
Stand by.
I had a look at
There we are. Cock out.
Very good, very good.
Oh, you waited all day for that, didn't you?
That's my OnlyFans page.
Yeah.
Link below. What is hilarious about this, apart from the fact that obviously this is nanny statism, like you wouldn't...
Gone mad.
It is Tesco's finest. You can have it afterwards. Okay. So nanny statism...
Other chickens
on
are
the
available.
basis that they want to know everything that we all do all of the time, including basically how many chickens there are. It's some effort or endeavour to try and somehow prevent bird flu. Not quite sure how it does that. However, when you look at the DEFRA website and you fill in the forms...
what are we getting now?
Right.
The forms, it doesn't actually say...
Is that for one chicken?
This is for one chicken, yeah.
But not when you're eating, when you're keeping.
Well, this is the thing, right? So it doesn't actually say that it's live chickens. It basically says that every chicken...
Sunday lunch,
every chicken in Britain...
Form
I kid you not, every chicken in Britain has to be registered. So I bought this for my Sunday lunch, and I'm assuming that I have to register it. So I've given it a name, which is Gertrude, at the top here.
Nice.
And I am going to register Gertrude as my chicken. And then next week, I guess, once I've eaten it, I've got to do it again.
But it goes further than that, because another part of this legislation says if your birds are taken outdoors at any time, for example, to be exercised, trained, or taken to bird gatherings or shows,
where's he going?
They must be registered.
Where's he going?
Well, my wife loves a night at a West End show. And she likes a girly night as well. So, I mean, it's never ending.
You can't call your wife a bird, can you? You'll be in trouble. I think that's great.
Well, you've got to make sure that DEFRA know about your wife's exploits then.
Yeah.
So every time you have roast chicken, you've got to register the birds.
Well, I might have misinterpreted
What a
that
load
slightly,
of
but
old...
what I'm saying is that typical government, they haven't made it clear. It doesn't say it has to be a live bird.
Well, there's been loads of comments made about this, right? Including some of the stuff that I saw on Twitter this week, which was things like, so you have to register every single chicken that walks the earth in Britain, but we don't know who the migrants are.
Yeah.
And we have no idea where they're from. You don't register any of them.
We can't do that, but we want you to register
chickens.
every
So effectively, we've got
So literally, so here, how about this scenario, right? So imagine a guy makes his way here from Eritrea. I don't know why I think of Eritrea
With
all
a
the time.
chicken?
He brings a chicken with him.
Yeah.
When he lands at Dover, they go, we'll have to register that. You can go.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what had happened. I mean, what's going on?
You've got kind of chicken ID cards. ID cards for chickens, but not for illegal migrants.
It's such a
absolutely
I
ridiculous.
mean, I'm not making this up. This is
Now, I've got this
believe
clip
this.
here, which is described as Peter Bleksley's chicken. I'm slightly worried what we're about to see.
this is brilliant.
But
My
let's have a
wife
look.
was enthralled by your chicken.
Let's have a look at this.
Anyone want a chicken?
Are you auditioning for a really bad version of Only Fools and Horses?
Well, no, there's a black market.
Victor Meldrew there.
There's a black market in chickens, clearly, isn't it? Unregistered chickens, you see, and I might have just got a few.
I don't
I used to keep
understand
chickens, when I was a student, because we went through this period of, I don't know whether you want to know this story, but one of our housemates decided he wanted to become self-sufficient because he quite liked the good life. Right?
I had a crush on Felicity Kendall.
Yeah, well, so did we all. Yeah. She was a member of my golf club, actually, but that's another story. So we got 2 chickens in, and one of them mysteriously stopped laying eggs, right? So we took a collective decision that we'd have to execute the chicken, because he apparently wasn't any longer contributing. It was like communism in writ large. We had to import a killer from Southampton. We were living in Bath at the time. And he came, and I held the chicken upside down, and he chopped its head off like that. And we ate it. It was the best tasting chicken I've ever had.
You've
right?
triggered vegans all over Britain.
And then, do you know what happened? At the end of the week, we went down to the end of the garden and found all the eggs.
Oh.
Yeah. But you can end up with like 1 million eggs sometimes.
Chicken execution
At least by murdering the chicken and eating it, you didn't have to register.
I didn't have to register it, though, because those were simpler times.
Oh, hang on, sorry, it doesn't say that. Doesn't actually say you don't have to register
me
dead
that
chicken.
migrants don't have to be registered, but you have to register a bloody chicken.
So,
I swear to
and
God,
how many
that's it.
people are being employed by DEFRA to check all these registrations?
Yeah, absolutely.
And how many
chickens?
chickens?
Who's the DEFRA secretary now?
I don't know who the Environment Secretary is.
Steve Reid, isn't
Somebody with red... Oh, it is Steve Reid, yeah.
Or is,
It is. Yeah, he's another one. He's a bit of a failure. Unbelievable. Absolutely ridiculous. Over to you, Peter Bleksley. Superintendent Helen Breer, it says here.
Right, so this is the second female police officer I've picked on this week.
It's
so
not misogyny.
I am a misogynist.
Yeah, you
I'm
are.
going to get hate mail and all that kind of stuff. I'll probably live with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Superintendent Helen Breer of West Yorkshire Police.
Oh, right.
She's an experienced police officer. She's got about 28 years' service. So it's not like she's new to the job. Anyway, she gets a new posting and she's so full of pride that she goes on social media and posts, "I'm excited to announce my appointment as Head of Recognition for West Yorkshire Police. Looking forward to formulating recognition strategies aligned to the Forces People strategy, developing and reviewing procedures, policies to ensure they meet the needs of our organisation." No wonder there's a bloody crime wave.
Can you translate?
What
No, I can't.
does that mean? What's a
I don't know.
recognition
What
officer?
is that police for? I mean,
I don't know.
Is some language that you learn in the police force?
It's Head of Recognition. That I can tell you that.
So the head of
Right?
recognition should be told that all you need to recognise, you stupid woman, is that we aren't arresting enough criminals on the streets.
Exactly.
Because there's too many people like you doing ludicrous jobs.
Non-jobs. It's a non-job.
Say non.
It's a non-job,
I'm glad I thought you
definitely.
said something else there.
but bearing in mind that a superintendent's pay scale is £77,000 to £90,000 a year. She's got a lot of service. She's probably at the top of that. 90 grand a year for Head of Recognition. But there is a good ending to this story.
Oh, I hope so.
Go on.
Because this afternoon, I'm delighted to say I've been appointed Head of Recognition at Talk.
Good.
On 90 grand a year. They're
Well done.
following West Yorkshire Police's lead.
What are you going to recognise?
All of your wonderful efforts, and in order, because we have a strategy to deal with this, I've developed a strategy for it.
Are you excited?
We're all going to go down the boozer and get bladdered.
Yeah, good.
What about the chicken? We've got to register it to bring it with us?
Look, I think we've discussed people's cocks enough this afternoon.
Yeah, unbelievable. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Absolutely incredible stuff. No wonder we are in the state we are in. Coming up, though, my final nomination has got something to do with the European Union, and I'll be choosing the winner as well. This is Plank of the Week. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. We are in not just the final furlong, in the final kind of, 50
100
feet,
yards.
100 yards of the race. Now, it may have escaped your notice at the weekend, but there was an event that took place in London called the National Rejoin March.
What does that mean?
These are people who are so deranged that they would like to rejoin the European Union, right? And they meet up every now and again. They come on buses from places like Exeter and Dorset and, Suffolk, places like that.
We should have to register
I
them.
live in Dorset.
They
The
should
way
be
he said
registered.
Dorset there was really worrying.
Yeah, with a
Dorset.
This particular march wasn't very well attended, though. Have a look at this.
Plenty of
big
tweets.
place.
But they do this repeatedly and have done it ever since 2016. And it's really quite extraordinary. And so much so that Peter Core, who is one of the founders of this organisation, Rejoin the EU, appeared on James Whale's show this week. Have a look at
He's
this.
brave.
Yeah.
No, you can't ask him that. Producers say, can we ask him about the march and how many people are going to be there? I couldn't give a flying fart how many people are going to come on his stupid march, and I'm annoyed about it.
Are you not
so you
coming?
could probably... No, I'm not coming.
Go on,
Bunch
come-
of idiots.
come with us.
And you're saying 80% of young people want to rejoin the EU.
Yeah.
They don't know. They don't have life experience.
James Whale.
Anybody
still a
goes,
legend.
I'm going on James Whale's Saturday Night Show, which is legendary. He taught us all right. You're going to go, I'm going to beat him. No, you're not.
No.
I'm going to throw you out. You
They
idiot.
keep trying. They do. But, I mean, what a ludicrous notion to rejoin an organisation which is dying on its backside, quite frankly.
Well, and proven to be
which is
corrupt,
Proven to be
inefficient,
corrupt.
inept.
Has never once passed its audited accounts
That's
to
why
anyone.
we decided to leave.
That's why we decided to leave. That's why in every single country in Europe now, almost every leader is turning to immigration has been a bad idea rather than a great idea.
100%.
Changing the Schengen rules, shutting their borders, and giving two fingers up to the idiots in Brussels.
Well, Nick Clegg, who was the ultimate Remainer, recently criticised.
He now lives in California, by the way.
Yes, now he's in California at Facebook. He criticised the EU because they want to regulate the technology they're developing, and he's like, "This is such a pity. You know, we wanted to train our AI models, and you wouldn't let us do it." And everyone's like, "Yeah, that's why we wanted to leave the EU." Hello, ding, 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 ding.
It's unbelievable, that whole EU thing.
It is incredible, and of course, this week our good friend Sir Keir Starmer is over there trying to reset the relationship with the EU. Well,
he's trying to reset a relationship.
He claims that what he wants to do is to be in lockstep with the European Union. One, I don't even understand what lockstep means, but surely leaving something doesn't mean you're in lockstep with it. It means you don't want to be in lockstep with it, doesn't it?
They want to be all things to all people, don't they?
Yeah.
That's what they want to be.
Well, I think he's got a secret agenda, Keir Starmer. That's what worries me about him.
He's got a secret a lot of things.
He has, yeah. Some people will tell you, some people will not. Nobody will know. But I tell you what, I mean, Keir Starmer would appear to be the obvious choice this week, would he not?
And it was my one. I honestly, short show, but you've got to give it to the chicken.
I think the chickens. Well,
chicken's got to win it, man.
I think the chicken's got to win it. Let's have another look at the chicken.
You want it back?
Just, honestly, I love when you said, Mikey.
Can I hold it aloft?
If you come to this country from Eritrea with a frozen chicken, they'll make you register the chicken and you can bugger off and get whatever you want.
Hey! You hold it aloft. The QPR fan, it's the only thing you'll ever be able to hold up as a trophy.
It's like a trophy, and slightly heavier. Plank of the week goes to Defra. I mean, Keir Starmer is always going to be in this. I think every single week he's going to get it. This is Plank of the Week, though. We'll see you at the same time next week.